Hello, welcome to Scott Combs Voiceovers Podcast, helping you start and grow your online voiceover business. I'm Scott. Hey, do me a favor, would you? If you like the content, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so that you can be notified anytime I add some new content. Also, please share this with other folks. Today's topic, hot and wet. It's a little provocative, isn't it, Scott? Yes, it is, other Scott. Yes, it is. So I was reading about 20 pages of copy the other day, and I started getting really dry. I didn't bring anything to sip on into the booth with me, and that made me think about, how important hydration is for voice artists. But the title, Hydration for Voice Artists, is a little dull. So we're stuck with hot and wet and all that implies, okay? Get over it. Now, as a bonus today, I'm going to reveal my secret weapon for staying hydrated during those long reads. Now, for those of you who are going to do textbooks, books of any sort, where you're in the booth for hours upon hours reading, it's super important that you stay hydrated, and you have to be drinking something that actually helps and doesn't hurt you. That's why this topic is so darn important. It's no joke. The quality of your voice will deteriorate rapidly when you start getting dry, and that stinks. You can't continue the read. And if you can't perform, you don't get the gigs, okay? Hugely, hugely important. So for me, pretty much every read, I go in with something, and that's, one of the reasons we have this ongoing thing happening. I'm constantly sipping on something to make my voice, or to keep my voice, I should say, in a lubricated state. Good heavens. Lubrication is absolutely important if you're going to sound your best. And you need to sound your best kind of all the time if you're going to be in this business, okay? Now, for me, I have an additional problem. I have some allergies. Now, I've always had a little bit of a dust allergy or something where I would take a little Benadryl at night so I could sleep easier, things like that. Well, it's gotten much worse as I've gotten older, to the point where I'll get so much gunk on my vocal cords, I can neither sing nor do reads. Now, I can speak, but only in a very tiny range. I lose the top end, I lose the bottom end. And the bottom end is some of the place where I make my dough. So if I can't get into those ranges, I'm kind of out of luck, and it's really important for me. So I keep allergy medication on hand, and I suggest you keep some of it on hand as well. One of my voice coaches was really great, Mike Foreman. He said, "We're professionals. We have things with us that will help." And one of those is Sudafed. Pseudoephedra is great. It's commonly known as Sudafed. It's great stuff. You can only buy it in limited amounts in most places, I guess, in the United States. I have to sign a document saying I'm not making anything out of it, and that I'm just taking it for medicinal purposes. Also, I keep non-drowsy antihistamines around, and I take 3 of them in particular, and in order of strength. Let me make sure I get this right. Claritin, Allegra, and Zyrtec. Now, I take Zyrtec at night, and I take Allegra generally during the day. That's how bad my throat is. And so taking those 2 things does me a lot of good. And if the problem is still giving me trouble, I'll then take a Sudafed on top of it. And yeah, I talked to my doc about it. My PA, Kyle, he's awesome. He also got me a prescription for Flonase. Now, that's a steroid, and it works really nicely, except it's not good to take during, say, a COVID outbreak. So I've stopped taking my Flonase and I'm doing more of the other stuff, and I'm getting by. Also, keep this stuff in a pouch for travel. If you get invited to somebody else's studio to read something and all of a sudden you start having trouble, that's too late to say, wait, I need this, I need that. So make sure you always have it with you. Stick it in your briefcase, stick it in your purse, stick it in, I keep a pouch of it in my truck. So when I get someplace, if I need something, I pull out my kit, because I'm a pro and you're going to be a pro. So let's act like it, okay? Now, let's talk about the drinks to stay away from. I stay away from cold drinks. Cold drinks tend to make my throat feel constricted, like the muscles are going, ooh, I need to be warmer. And so I want them room temperature or warmer. As a matter of fact, one of my old bosses, Mike Dime, I will never forget, we were talking about dry throat at one of the radio stations I worked with, and Dime was this sweet, sweet guy, and he says, just give me anything that's hot and wet. And that's pretty much where the title came from. Thank you, Mike. So I tend toward the warmer sides. I stay away from soda. I don't drink soda anyway, but if you're a soda drinker, stay away from it when you're reading, because that sugar, unless you're taking, protein and carbs along with it, will tend to create a gunky mess in your throat. Stay away from milk. Stay away from cheese. Because they're sort of phlegm attractants, and that phlegm sucks. It's just horrible on your throat. You're constantly clearing your throat. We had a guy, the old pro, Wise. Jim Wise was hilarious and a great guy, but he would clear his throat constantly before takes. And so one of my buddies one time took and cut together all of his throat clearing, about 2 minutes of it, and sent it to him. I don't think he ever laughed so hard. So stay away from that crap. Other stuff to stay away from: wine, beer, and hard liquor, for obvious professional reasons. But the other one is the alcohol tends to anesthetize your throat, and that's a bad thing all the way around. So, you don't want to be using booze to take care of your throat. You'll perform less than optimally, and that ain't good. Now, my superstar super deal is coming up. I don't mean to tease you with it, but it really is the most important trick in my bag. I want room temperature or warmer, say water with lemon or lime. I prefer lime instead of lemon. And if you don't have lemons or limes around, I use real lime juice, and I just put a little in the water to taste, and I sip on that while I'm doing my thing, and that works out really well. Flavored fizzy water, I think I got one right here. Flavored fizzy water like this, I don't use often in the booth, because then you have to deal with burping. Speaking of which, here I am just on regular tea. I'm just, I'm sipping tea in this thing, and you still run into a problem with it. So depends on how you handle that. It's your call. Coffee, fresh roasted, freshly ground, done in a French press. There is no other way. Don't argue with me. Who's the pro here? Huh? This is what a French press looks like, and this is one of my 6 dozen of these I think we have around the house, going from little, tiny one-hitters all the way up to something that can do 12 or 14 cups. But I find that the fresh roasted, freshly ground French pressed coffee just works better for me than anything else. And here in Minnesota, we've got Dunn Brothers Coffee. And typically when I buy the beans, they were roasted 2 days before. Store-bought beans are between 45 and 90 days old after the roast already. And so they've already gotten stale, and they just don't work for me the same way. If they work for you, great, keep using them. No matter what I suggest, if you find something that works for you, that's what you use. I'm just giving you a starting point here. Tea. The teas I like are Oolong, English breakfast tea, and with English breakfast tea, I'll put some citrus in it, and that'll be lime. It tastes great. That's what is in my cup right now, and it just kind of helps keep things, keeps the phlegm off my vocal cords. And I also drink Earl Grey. That has oil of bergamot in it, and bergamot's a fruit, citrus fruit, and that stuff is fantastic. So those are the 3 teas that I gravitate toward. Now, we need to talk about caffeine. Some people have trouble with caffeine, so if you have caffeine issues, stay away from the caffeinated stuff. Get the decaffeinated stuff. Or you can go to, say, an herbal tea. And there is one herbal tea that is one half of my recommendation, my secret weapon for getting through long reads. It's this stuff. It's Throat Coat. And this is what the box looks like, and you can look it up. Let's see if I can read, oh shoot, all the herbal ingredients. Echinacea root, licorice root, dry aqueous extract. It's hard to read in this lighting, sorry about that. But it's got a bunch of stuff on it. It's a great herbal tea. And this is a secret for keeping my throat lubricated during extremely long reads. These are the ones that are going a couple hours, maybe more. I've gone as long as 3 hours in a read, and that can get very tough. But this is only half of it, because the other half is you stop salivating. At least I do. So what I've found is if I get really tiny, very sour candies, and you're better off with the sugarless ones than you are sugared ones. But in a pinch, I've used the fruity Tic Tacs, the orange ones. I've stuck those in there, and I stick them between my cheek and gum so that I only get a little of it every now and again. And just thinking about it, I start to salivate. But that helps. So that is my secret weapon. So it's between the Throat Coat tea and the tiny sour candies. If you want to learn more about being a voice artist, just check out some of the other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.